normal now, but when you've gone 3 months without double bubble, suddenly.
All right. And in the UK, it was great.
Did you? Oh,
Yeah.
Familiar. I also travel with peanut butter. I don't love peanut butter, but suddenly when I'm not in peanut butter salad.
Hey, they have decent peanut butters. I can share some recommendations. They're not that bad. I lived on a student budget over there for 4 months. I think you can last.
You can make it
Yeah.
happen. Thanks for coming. We are super excited to kick off our information sessions for May, summer, and fall 2026 with y'all at 12 for our Samford and London fall 2026 semester. This is Dr. Mandy Howard. We are super excited for her to be our faculty in residence for fall 2026. And she has a really cool course that is going to be offered amongst our other course options for that fall. So I'm going to let her kind of take it away and talk about all the things that I just told y'all about her aspirations for the program and her course, as well as what made her decide to apply to be faculty in residence and what she's most excited about to connect with students in this experience and all of those kinds of things. And then Elliot is one of our international ambassadors, and he is here for a student perspective, so he can answer any student life questions that y'all have. And then I can answer any of those like logistical application questions, costs, all that good stuff. But yeah, this is your time, Mandy, so go for it.
So, like I said, I am Dr. Mandy Howard, and I am an associate professor in the psychology department. And kind of like my area of specialization that might make some of the things we're doing seem a little bit, like kind of put it into context. So I'm a developmental psychologist. So I work with people from conception to death. And really my focus is try to understand from a psychological perspective, from a physical perspective, from a cognitive perspective, how we change and stay the same across the lifespan. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing in the course is looking at human behavior and how that kind of shifts from culture to culture, and how like developmentally we change and how that might look a little different in the UK versus it does in the US. Kind of my major area of specialization, I actually work with kids that have been separated from their parents. So I work with kids that are in foster care and kids that are in orphanage care, and that'll probably bleed into the course a little bit as well. Okay, so my aspirations is for us to spend the absolute minimum amount of time sitting and hearing a lecture throughout the course of the semester. Our goal is to get out and use London as our classroom. So there are going to be some course readings, there are going to be some reading quizzes. My philosophy on reading quizzes, as Elliot can attest to, is they are open book, open note, untimed. My goal is to get you to do the reading and come prepared to discuss. So what we're going to be doing throughout the course of the semester, we have all kinds of things that we're going to be kind of exploring within psychology. So for example, we're going to learn how to do naturalistic observations. Does anyone know what that means? Okay, think about people watching, but actually being trained to do so. So how do you go into a group of people? How do you actually document behavior, understand what that looks like, and then draw some interpretation from that? So for example, when we talk about parenting, we're actually going to go and do observations at a playground and see how families interact, right? And we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about how that might look a little bit different than what it looks like here in the United States. When we talk, like when we're first learning how to do it, we're actually going to go to Chinatown. Has anybody ever been to a Chinatown in the city before? It's very different, right? It's very different in terms of the interactions and what you see and how people are talking to each other, even the distance that they stand apart. So we're going to learn how to observe behavior, and then we're going to learn how to take what we've learned in our classes and interpret what that means. And that's really important, not just for my class, but for anything that you do. So I know we have a couple of folks that are coming from a business background or an entrepreneurship background. That is so important in the business field to understand the culture, see the behaviors that you're seeing, and be able to make meaning behind those behaviors. Because when you can understand the behavior, you can help a person feel more comfortable and more connected to you. And that's really what makes the world go round. So we're going to learn naturalistic observations. We're also going to go to a lot of sites. Has anyone ever heard of Sigmund Freud? Okay, so Sigmund Freud is a big theorist in psychology. Also, you don't really have to have a psych background at all. You can come in from ground zero, never having taken gen psych, and you will do just fine in this course. But we are going to go to the Freud Museum, and we are actually going to visit Sigmund Freud's couch. So if you've ever heard of psychoanalysts, right? It's lots of like, tell me about your mother while lying on the couch. We get to see Freud's couch. Just saying. It's really exciting. So we're going to be doing things like that. And we're going to talk about what that means in terms of, he did a lot of work and things that you probably know about psychoanalysis, but he also did a lot of work in culture that doesn't really get talked about. We're also going to go visit the Bedlam Museum of the Mind. Has anybody ever heard of Bedlam Hospital, or someone's going to go to Bedlam? It was really the first mental institution that was established by a government, right? And now it is actually one of the greatest advocates for mental health and mental health stigma in the entire world. So we're going to go and find out what historically was happening at Bedlam. And then we're also going to see the work that they're doing now and how they've been working to kind of change the perspective on mental illness and what that means. So we have site visits throughout the course of the semester where we're going to learn about things, do observations, and then come back together and talk about it. So that's our goal, right? Seeing behavior, understanding it, and also understanding what it means for you. My hope is that you learn these skills, and then when you go to your internships, or when you're just wandering around London, or when you take a weekend and hop over to Denmark, you can still use these skills and be able to like reflect on that. So in terms of actual class assignments, like I said, there are going to be readings and reading quizzes, and that's important. There's obviously participation is the most important, but you also are going to be doing things like once a week have a reflective journal, right? So this is something that I saw that we kind of talked about this week, either in class during our observations or our visits, or maybe at your internship, or maybe when you were coming home on the tube, you saw a parent interacting with their child and you're like, I know what's happening here, right? So an opportunity to really reflect on that. We also are going to be doing, like I said, those naturalistic observations where you're going to, I like to say you have a buddy and a bench, right? And you sit down and you observe behavior, and then you come back together and you say, okay, what did you see? What do you think that was? What do you think was going on? And then we'll come together as a group and talk about it. One of the last piece of it, kind of like the culminating piece of it, is you guys are going to pick a topic that you think is interesting. So maybe it's cultural differences in communication, right? Or maybe it's, different parenting styles that you see. London is one of the most multicultural cities in the world. So you're not just going to see people parenting from the traditional England perspective. We're going to go visit Southall, which has the largest Southeastern Asian population in, I think, all of Europe, if my numbers aren't wrong, right? So in terms of Indian, Bangladesh, Pakistani, it has a huge population there. So you're going to get to see all of these behaviors. So you can talk about things like, are there differences in parenting style? How we observe that? What does that look like? Right. And you can also pick something that's more specific to you, right? So maybe cultural differences in the way that you do marketing, or maybe cultural differences in the way that you design a building if you're interested in architecture. So there are some things that you would expect to see differently there. So those are some of the things that we're going to be doing and learning about. So you do a presentation, it kind of brings everything together. But like I said, my goal is to get us out into the community so we can really use London as our classroom. That was a lot. What questions do you all have for me? Or maybe talk to, so there's 6 of you. So maybe talk to your neighbor for a second. What is one thing that I just talked about that you're kind of excited about? And maybe one thing that you have a question about. So go ahead, get with your buddy. Introduce yourself if you don't know each other and talk for a second. Hello. Yeah. Teacher mode kicks in.
Everything is most always aggressive.
All right, let's bring it back together. So something that you're kind of like, that could be kind of interesting. Anyone have a thought?
You just said like being out in the future, like seeing the different like what is the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to spend a lot of time on the tube. We are very seldom going to be in the classroom. And to be clear, observing people on the tube isn't in and of itself a class. It's a whole, vouch for me on this. That's a whole culture in and of itself. Mind the gap. Other things that you think are going to be interesting, or you're kind of like, that could be cool. Is anyone a people watcher? Right? Now you will know all of the secrets of people watching. What questions should you have? Things I can answer. I can tell you about other places we're going to go on, things we're going to do. All right. Okay. So one of the things that Lauren.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'm just like mind blanking. Was talking about is why I wanted to do this trip. So one of the things that happened, and you can attest to this because you took a class with me. Many times when I teach classes, I have very large classes. So in general, I have classes that are on the small side, I'll have about 25 students. On the large side, sometimes I'll have 75 students in my class. That makes it really hard to get to know my students well. I try my absolute best. You guys have Quizlets of like, term and definition. I have Quizlets of your faces and name. So I'm like, Susan. Right? So I'm really excited. One of the reasons I really wanted to do this is because it's an opportunity to have a smaller classroom and to actually be able to be with you for 4 months. We're going to live in London together. Think about that for a second. This isn't just a vacation. You're actually going to live there. You're going to have a coffee shop guy that by the end of it is going to know your name, right? You're going to see me in pajama pants at some point in time throughout the course of the semester. So the opportunity to really to get to know my students on a small scale, right? And know your name, know what you want to do, why you want to do it, right? Be able to talk about all of those things. That's one of the things that I am most excited about. So maybe again, talking to your neighbors, some of you guys came in knowing each other, some of you didn't. What's the thing, not just for my class, but what's maybe one thing that you're a little excited about for potentially being in London for 4 months? Talk with your friend. What are you excited about? You learned something about what was that?
You said the two B's in the itself a classroom.
Idiots. You've been watching them too.
I mean,
It's I might call them. How was the tube? How was people watching tube for you?
Experience.
Riding the tube the first time. It's the appropriate behavior too. Don't make my food.
Totally different experience.
All right, what are you all excited about? Anything? Oh. Experience for a little bit and for me. And then you now have a friend that will also live there, so you have community built in. Perfect. What else? Why are you excited about going to the UK?
I've been to another country before, so like just seeing different cultures and like how people like experience the world in different places and like just the architect, just everything, like just being immersed in a culture for 4 months and not just seeing all the highlight things, but also seeing the photos too, like just seeing it all together, not just having like a week-long trip.
Kind of that shift from being a tourist to actually being someone that's a part of the community. So one of the things we're going to talk about at the very end of the semester is how we define home, right? And what constitutes a home. Because by that point, UK would have been your home, right? Daniel House would have been your home, but Alabama is still your home. Like where you lived before, right? Your hometown is still your home. So how do you kind of like reconcile that? It's like, wow, that's fascinating. Anything else you guys are excited about?
You said something is more like being formative for longer than a week, like we've both been out of the country, but not for longer than
Yeah.
10 days. So just like also being immersed in the culture and like, finding a new way of life.
So many different things. All right. Do you have anything that you wanted to add from the student perspective or from the logistics perspective that are typical questions?
One thing is that regardless of if you take Dr. Coward's class or not, you'll have the chance to, obviously you'll be living with her in the Daniel House, have that perspective, but she'll be with Joe Burkhart, our associate director, teaching that internship course that's going to be required of every student. So whether you take her psychology class or not, you will still have her as a faculty member and as a support structure, of course, during your time in London. And then the other
And we can
courses-
just have tea if you want to have tea. I'm always up for tea.
Well, there's plenty to try while you're over there.
Yeah.
But you'll have that international internship package, is that 6-credit academic package required of all students. Then you'll pick 2 of our following courses that are on that program description page on our website. That sits you at about 13 or 14 credits. So it's still full-time student status, but doesn't overload you to where you can't go travel and explore and do the things that you want to do while you're over there. Because what's the point of studying abroad if you're going to sit in the study room the whole time with books, right? We want you to go have those experiential learning times and opportunities.
And I'll even add to the sit and study part. She says you'll be taking 13 and 14 credit hours. You really are most of the time that you are studying. You are out in the culture, like doing something. Like our last project for the class that Tom Crosby teaches was filming monuments in London. So we were going all over the city of London, like looking at these monuments, filming them, doing a little documentary over them. So you are using the city as your classroom. They're not joking when they say that.
And your step count will show that.
I think my record is like 45,000 steps or something one day. Yeah,
But yeah, 20,000 a day is not unheard of by any means. It's pretty common. But yeah, y'all already know our applications will open on the 17th of October at 7 a.m. If you're considering this program, you'll have required advising with me, and we'll start that application process together. So if you haven't had advising with me already for this program specifically, go ahead to our website, make an appointment with me. I can help you get started in that. And then you'll have everything that you need when the 17th rolls around to keep moving forward in the application process. Any other student life thoughts?
just talk about it.
Sure, yeah. So Elliot was there in the spring of 2025, and participated in the program. So tell us your thoughts, Elliot.
Yeah, I'll start by saying a question that I got, because we did the Samford Broad Fair on Friday, and then I did a preview day, and a question that I got multiple times was, what about missing out on things on campus? And I can tell you for a fact that every single one of the 16 people or 15 people that I was with came back and said, we felt like we would have missed more not going to London than we ever missed being on campus for a semester or being off campus for a semester. So, yeah, definitely go if you have the means to. Living there, you are going to bond with the people you're living with. It's just a fact. Like, you're in such a close confined space, it's going to happen. And having her as a professor, great professor, by the way, highly recommend, definitely take her class. You're going to get very close. It's going to be like your community, and the days that are a little bit harder because you are missing home a little bit, you'll have that community to fall back on. I don't think anybody ever felt so homesick to a point where they were like, I want to be home right now. They just felt to a point where they were like, I'm going to have a nice relaxing night doing what I would have done at home. So don't worry about the homesickness. It'll come and go, but you, like I said, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. You'll be able to travel. You'll be able to see the world. You'll be able to use the world as your classroom. She wasn't kidding when she says you'll step on the tube and the tube is a classroom. I mean, just a slight example is like, you go on the tube in America, or you go on the subway in America, and it's crowded, it's loud. People are speaking. There was one day where me, 6'4" male, got in the tube, shoulder to shoulder. My feet are no longer on the ground. There are so many people in there, I am lifted off. Silent. Not a single person in there was talking. You could hear every announcement clearly. And I got off and I was like, that is not at all what it would have been like in America. But it's a learning experience all the time. It's a great opportunity. I say go. I fell in love with it. I want to go back all the time. And now I'm in nursing, so it's a little bit hard to go back all the time. But and I mean, every single one of the people that I talk to are like, yeah, either they want to go live there now, or they want to go and just visit for like a month at a time. If, like I said, if the missing out on campus is at all holding you back, don't let it, because I promise you'll walk away from that experience thinking, okay, I'm glad that I missed out on a semester on campus. I had a semester in London. So if you have any other questions, you can ask me specifics. Or if you have any right now, you can ask me anything about the housing. Like I did, I lived it. So
Yeah, any student questions about student life or about the logistics?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what is the house? I understand.
what is the house like?
Okay, no, like, I guess like, I know it's like a house and there's rooms.
Yeah. You just want to know like the dynamics and okay, well, yes, it is I'm gonna start off by saying you will get your Stairmaster experience in the Daniel house. It's like is it 7 stories or 6 stories? 5 stories, really? No elevator, yeah. It's great when you are one of 2 guys and everybody is like carrying my suitcase all the way up to the top floor. But it's like you walk out of your bedroom door and there is another room right next to that. So they're walking out. It is like you are truly in community, because you'll walk out the door and any given person will be right there. And it'll just be like, how are you today? Like, you're truly getting to socialize. You walk down, Tom is there. Tom lives in the house with his wife and child, and Larry the dog, which is my favorite part of the Daniel house. I will tell that to anybody that asks me. It's like, I don't know. I don't think there are like proper words to describe the feeling of living in that house other than just community. Like, you walk into that house and while you are not at home, you are at home. Like, I get flashbacks to being in that house and just being like, oh, it's like, it's a sense of being at home in a different place. It's like a home away from home is really what that's gonna feel like. Regardless of like my cohort had plenty of issues with each other at any given time. It's gonna happen. You're in close confined spaces. But even in those moments, it was like, I still have that community. This still feels like, never once was it like, all right, I need to get out of this house. There were moments where it was like, all right, I need to go for a little walk around the block. But I promise you that like living in the house, the feeling of living in the house is going to be this unique experience to you. Like, I can't put it properly into words because it's different for every cohort, but it is going to be a unique experience that you look back on and are like, oh, I'm so happy. Like, the community was great. The living in the house was great. The stairs got a little annoying, but the kitchen will get annoying too. It's big, but when you have like 11 or 12 people trying to cook at one time, then it does not feel so big. And also the laundry machines will feel a little annoying, but you'll get the hang of them. We did. But that's what I have to say to that. So
Well, we have alumni coming up to the house or coming by the house like every other day of the week. Because they were there in the 80s and they were there in the early 2000s. And so like, it just shows you that like how profound of an experience, even if it was just for a 2-week Jan term or a 2-week May term or even for a semester, how that the Daniel House still means something to them. And so that when they come back to London, that's, I mean, they got their list of things that they need to see and the Daniel House is on that list. That's one of their.
Someone goes, oh, it's my stage of Jan terms. And he talked to me for like 20 minutes on his experience in the Daniel House. That was like a 3-week long experience. It will impact you. I have one of the girls that was with me in London. She is currently there right now. And she's like, I can't wait to get back to the house. I can't wait to go see it again. Like, and we just were there. Like, how many months ago? 6, 7, 7, 8, something like that. But yeah, my bad. It's gonna be an experience thing.
They're mates.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, they're, for the most part, they're roommates. And it also, I guess, depends on your size, because there were like 2 or 3 people in mind that had a solo room, but mostly everybody had a roommate. I had one other roommate. I didn't really have any other options though. The girls, some of them had 3 to a room, some of them had 2 to a room. And the ones that have 3 to a room, they're in a little bit bigger room. So like,
It's not like any of the dorms on campus where every single room is cookie cutter and the exact same. It's an 1800 Victorian home, so.
I have pictures of my room, so I'd like to see that. So
Yeah, there's
but
every different size, so we have everything from a single all the way up to actually a room that fits, it's kind of like a joining 2 rooms that fit 6. Now, we don't normally put 6 people in there for the semester, the most we have in that room is 4, but there's only 1 room that's that big. Everything else is usually like 2 room students.
I feel both cramped and spacious.
Yeah.
There will be moments of both.
But yeah, that's just London, that's urban city life too, and everything is just built kind of on top of each other, right? The thing that Tom always likes to encourage students with that I really enjoyed, is that like there are so many green spaces. So even if like the idea of a city is a little bit stressful to you, or like you need that time out in nature to recharge, there are so many great green spaces. I mean, 250 acres in Hyde Park is literally just 10 minutes away from the house, so.
I Richmond. There's another one that's amazing. Like, she's not kidding. You can find that. You will step into those green spaces. Where is the city? Like, I was just surrounded by building. So
Yeah, so if you have that time to take a walk by yourself or go take a phone call or do any of those kinds of things. Students often come back saying it those are their favorite places to do that, because the house is, small and you have a roommate. It's just like you're at college, right? You gotta find your spaces to have that alone time to recharge. What other questions? Again,
How many students are in the?
how many students are in the cohort?
You're-
Yeah, 20 students for a semester.
it's that size. And I'll also add, I didn't say this earlier, you are in a very good location to travel around the city of London, you've got a tube stop right out the door that can get you to like all the big major areas quickly with ease, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the house, so Samford's owned the home since 1984, so we are officially hitting 41 years. And the house is currently valued at over $25 million, so it's insane. I mean, like just the location alone. And that, I mean, the house is fantastic, but why that value is so high is because of where the house is located. It's super safe, it's super accessible. It's a really, really incredible area of London, so. It's nice.
People at my internship, they'd ask me like where I get off to go home, and I'd say, oh, Gloucester Road. They'd be like, oh, that area, that's a nice area. Like it's nice.
What is your weekend travel?
We can travel, oh,
Like,
great,
so-
it varies, I've heard of cohorts doing the whole train to mainland, like Europe and stuff, but we flew a lot because it ended up being a lot cheaper for us. I can't speak like 100% for the fall, but I think I also heard the fall cohort saying they flew a lot, as well. Flights there are a lot cheaper than it'd be to fly from state to state in the States. I think the most expensive we ever spent on flying to a different country was maybe 500 round trip. And that was, I think, our spring break as well. So it was flying from London to Italy, Italy to Spain, Spain to London. So like you can book a decent amount of things. We never had classes on Fridays, and most of the people that I was with never worked on Friday. So we would always leave Thursday after our classes ended and have Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And sometimes I believe the internship course is still every other Monday. So some weekends we wouldn't have that. We would fly back on Monday morning. But if you had your internship, then we fly back Sunday night. So we really made the most of it. I made it to Italy, Spain, Belgium, the Netherlands, France. Would have loved to make it to Germany, but we waited till too late and the flights got more expensive. Definitely look at like, if there's a country you really want to go to, I would highly suggest looking at like, when's the most expensive time to fly there? It's not, because we didn't do that and we wish we did that because Germany was one of our bucket list items that we didn't make.
The fall versus the spring semester is different too, so like looking at what are the popular holidays or festivals or things going on in different countries in Europe in the fall versus the spring. The closer you get to the holidays and Christmas, the more prices are going to go up, right? So if you do apply and you're accepted and you commit to the program, take the spring semester and the summer to think about, your 3 bucket list countries, or your 3 things that you really want to see, and go ahead and start planning that travel in advance. So that way, you don't get caught in the, oh, it's too expensive, or, oh, there's no more plane tickets on this flight that I really want to go on. I will say there are plenty of cost-effective ways to do London. So consider like what is most important to you and also what your budget is. If you're going to try and hit 10 countries in a semester, your personal spending budget maybe need to be a little bit bigger than if you're just trying to do a few and then do some more like day trips in and around the UK. So there are plenty of, and there's so much to see. So like there's no wrong or right way to do any of it. Your experience will be your experience, and it'll be incredible however you do it.
Yeah.
But just kind of think about what are your expectations going into this? What are the things that you want to take advantage of and see while you're over there? Or like say you're a huge like theater fan and you want to go see 15 West End shows. Well, that's fantastic, and they're cheaper than they are here in the States, but you still gotta bring budget for 15 West End shows, you know what I mean? Or if you are a coffee connoisseur and you're gonna want to hit all the coffee shops in London, and that's gonna be a frequent expense of yours, or with a coffee shop kitty of money, that kind of thing.
Shop. They know Tom. We walked in. I wasn't with them, but some of the girls walked in. It's a running joke with our full cohort. Some of the girls walked in on the very first day we were there. Walked in, very obviously American. And the dude looks at him and goes, "Oh, you Tom's girls?" And our group chat for the entire semester was called Tom. He doesn't like me telling that story, but it's a funny story. Exactly.
Not just like as you plan your semester, but like you're on campus too. And if you not very adept in the kitchen and you know you're gonna wanna eat out more, then you're gonna have to plan to budget for that. Of course, you'll have your room stipend that'll get to your account a couple of times throughout the semester, and you can pay for groceries and meals at restaurants and things like that. There are definitely ways to save money and ways to spend money, so think about which ways you want to save and which ways you want to spend.
Is there still, are they going to Vienna?
Yes, including the price of your program fee is also a weekend excursion to Vienna, so the full cohort will go on a weekend to Vienna. And do some different sightseeing, football match, some cathedral tours, all that kind of stuff as a group. And it's about 3 or 4 weeks into the semester, so it's great to kind of get your feet settle underneath you in London and your internship, your classes, getting to know your cohort, and then you all go on that. Our current cohort just went a couple of weekends ago, so check out our Instagram for a recap reel if you want to see that.
I guarantee you somebody in your cohort, they know Billy Joel. Well, they will play it 5 to
7
10
times.
times. I'm not kidding. Hmm.
Questions?
So it varies. I will say, for me, I was going in as a nursing major. They didn't really they were just like, okay, we'll put him in somewhere where he interacts with all walks of life. So I worked in a charity. I worked serving meals, every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then the other half of my hours, I would work doing independent research for the charity's owner to help them find funding for their possible missions. That was what I did. Now, my roommate and one of the girls in the house worked at the same place. They worked at a firm called PLMR, and that is a political lobbying firm. So they would come home and I would come home and I'd say, I chopped carrots for a few hours and met a really nice guy named Bill. They would come home and say, I talked to 7 members of parliament on the phone. It's very different. And then we had another girl come home who worked at a hotel in guest relations. And so she got to set up a bunch of events for these hotels, do a bunch of things like that. And she would come home and go, I met this famous person. So it varies from person to person. But I will say that all of us, for the most part, there's always going to be 1 or 2 that their internships, they vary. Sometimes they're trying out a new internship when you're there. And there's always going to be a mix of people who really love their internships and a mix of people who are like, not my favorite, but I'm getting through it and I'm still in London. It's not going to inhibit your experience to a point where it's like, oh, I'm dreading it. Like we had some girls that they had a lot of time consuming stuff, but they still walk out of London loving it. Some of them are trying to get back to London. It really ranges. Your internship, you'll work 20 hours a week. You'll go and you'll do it. The days that you do it goes around your class schedule and goes with whatever the person you're working for prefers. A lot of us, I think only 2 of us in our entire cohort worked on a Friday. Those people that did work on the Friday loved working on Fridays. They didn't really care that they were working on Fridays. I worked all of my hours Monday through Wednesday. Same thing for the 2 that I mentioned that worked at the political lobbying firm. They worked Monday through Wednesday, and their Tuesday and Wednesday they worked a full 9 to 5. But they enjoyed it. They really liked it. The girl that worked in the hotel did very similar thing, full 9 to 5. She enjoyed it. She liked it. It was stressful in the beginning. This is just an example. It was really stressful in the beginning. At the beginning, she didn't think she liked it. By the end, she was like, oh yeah, it's great. We had a girl who went in as healthcare admin and worked for a music group. And I will tell you that she really enjoyed her internship. And she really she's right back in London right now doing stuff for her internship because they ended up hiring her again. You can make connections when you're over there. So your internship is sometimes it's going to be something that's okay, it's not my favorite thing, but I'm getting through it. Sometimes it can be it's the best thing ever. I love it. But I promise you, it's still worth it. It's it really does immerse you into the culture and you learn something new every day. I thought for a moment there, I'll be honest here. I thought I'm working in the soup kitchen. This dude's talking to a member of women. That's really cool. But I got to explore a little bit more. I got to meet a lot of interesting people, whereas they were working a desk job every day. And yeah, they got to go do work events and they got to go do watching debates in Parliament. But I got to learn the story of somebody that I never would have met beforehand because I worked in a charity. It's gonna vary. It's gonna be different for your major. but it's gonna be something that you walk away regardless of if you think it's the best thing ever or not. You're gonna walk away with so many lessons that you're like, I'm glad that I did it. So I don't know if that helps at all, but
Yeah, it's all about the learning experience. And so we have students that go and do this internship and they're like, this affirms exactly what I was thinking about my career plans. I'm gonna keep pursuing that path. Or we have folks like the student he was referring to that they have this one major and this one thought plan for their life and they go do this international and it changes their mindset and what they do. And that doesn't mean that the internship was bad or that it was the wrong thing. That honestly was an incredible learning experience. They needed that internship to then help them figure out what the best next step was forward. So whether your internship is exactly what you think it's going to be, or it's a little, departure from what you thought, it's going to be a learning experience either way. And those soft skills that you learn about working in the real world and communicating and, just all of those like stuff that you can't like, that aren't like, oh, I know how to analyze this data, right? Like those soft skills are what really impress employers and are going to help set you apart as candidates as you go into the next phase. And the fact that Elliot's now going into nursing school with having so much that like interpersonal experience, he's going to have so much better like bedside manner and be able to communicate better with his patients as a result of doing this experience. Whereas beforehand, I'm sure you would have done great, but you wouldn't have had that real tangible background to go off of. But yeah, so your internship is awesome. Jo is our incredible associate director, and she will work one-on-one with each of you to get that internship placed in London. They'll basically say, hi, Jo, I'm thinking about these potential industries or these potential career fields, and she will use that conversation to guide her search for an internship placement for you in London. We've had students everywhere from nonprofits to community centers to 5-star hotels to the NBA equivalent called London Lions basketball team, to graphic design and marketing, and the list really does go on and on. And our internship placement guide is on our website if you want to read more about the logistics and kind of what students have done previously and all that kind of stuff. What other questions, Ken? These are good ones. There's mud. Cool. So when do applications open for Samford and London Fall of 2026? October 17th at 7 a.m. As I said before, if you haven't met with me yet, go on our website, make an appointment. We'll get you started with that advising application so that way you can move forward with the rest of the application. When the 17th rolls around, I'll linger around a little bit for questions. If you want to try out our phone, you can listen to people in London, and then I'll let y'all go. Thank you. Of course, thank you so much for coming. Who knows, you make your Tom or Joe on the other line.